and to, of course, consider, the impacts of our Indigenous people in our practices and policies. And that did not take 5 minutes. So if you would like to join for public comment, please identify yourself and we'll make sure that you're on that list, because public comment, it's limited to 2 minutes per person. And right now we have 1, 2, 3, we have 4 people that will be speaking. If there's anyone else, please identify yourself and I'll stop speaking so you can do that.
I just wanted to clarify, I have 3 people. So I have Megan Murphy, Kim McGillivray, and Castile Hightower. Was there
You are correct. I wrote Kim's name twice. Sorry about that. So for the moment, we have 3 people. And thank you for joining us, because public comment is a very important part of our work in ensuring that we're respecting your time in terms of attending the meeting as well. So I will then.
I'd also like to make public comment. I don't know how to raise my hand here.
Okay, that is Dr. Howard Gale. So at the moment we have Kim first, Megan first, pardon. Kim, Castile, and then Dr. Gale. Okay, well, so at the moment I'm going to move on then to point 3. That's our roll call, and I'll do this slowly. So Commissioner Abdullah. Okay. Commissioner Allen. Commissioner Bechtold. Sorry, this is not in alphabetical order. Commissioner Bechtold. Commissioner Alvarado.
Present.
Yes, thank you. We know that Commissioner Daly is excused. I am Commissioner Diamond. Commissioner Lakshmanan.
Present.
Wonderful, thank you. And I see that it's noted that you are our timekeeper today, so thank you very much. Commissioner Mitnick. Oh, it's not Commissioner. Commissioner Mitnick. There you are. Thank you, Commissioner Mitnick. And then Commissioner Quander.
I'm present. Sorry, I was having trouble.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Commissioner Mitnick. And Commissioner Quander is not with us. So, Meredith, how many confirmed commissioners do we have present? I want to confirm that.
We just have you, Dr. Diamond, you and Commissioner Mitnick. So we do not have a quorum today.
Okay, so we do not have quorum. So that will impact our ability to conduct business in terms of items that we vote on. So when it's time to confirm the agenda, I will make a motion then. So next, for our confirmed as well as unconfirmed commissioners, just a reminder that we sent out a review of Robert's Rules of Order in terms of how we proceed during the meetings, but we won't be voting today. So in terms of what quorum means, how to make motions and such. But again, because we do not have quorum, we will not be voting on items such as elections or other resolutions as well. So we'll have to table that to our next meeting.
I'm sorry,
yes?
Just one thing. I do have to drop off early today because I have some late night work commitments. So is there any way anyone else could time keep?
I can, because this will be recorded, I believe, so I could make notes for you as well. I'll be making a motion in terms of what we covered too as well. So, because we can't conduct business, so that may impact, how long you can take the minutes, but just tell me when you're leaving and then I'll take over from there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And so next, that brings us to agenda confirmation. Due to the fact that we cannot conduct business in terms of voting on resolutions, I would, Meredith, I'm gonna have to check with you on this in terms of I'd like to make a motion in terms of the agenda because we can't even vote on that. We don't, but that we cover items 1 through 6, of course, respecting that the public has been here, 1 through 6, 9, 10, and 11. And those are primarily informational items. If within the business agenda, there are items that we don't need to cover because we can't conduct elections. We can't approve the resolution for the dignified public infrastructure. We also can't approve the minutes. So I'd like to modify the agenda for 1 through 6, 9, 10, and 11.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Just in case members of the public don't have the agenda, can we just read out what items each is, just so everyone's clear on what will be discussed today? Yeah,
Okay.
or maybe just
Of
what
course.
we're moving.
Okay, so I'd like us to start according to the agenda, the public comment, which is at 6:10, to respect our 3 members of the public who'd like to speak. So the next item would have been the approval of the minutes. We can't approve the minutes. Then the next item is business agenda. So we can't conduct business, so we can't approve the election procedures. We can't hold elections. There's a resolution in terms of the dignified public infrastructure that we can't vote on. The legal scope of the Seattle Human Rights Commission, I don't know if the city attorney's office is here, but since the majority of us aren't here, that may not be a good use of their time. We could discuss amicus status, and that is E. So that would, but then again, your fellow commissioners aren't here to vote on that or to hear that discussion. We, of course, could continue to have the Seattle Office of Civil Rights updates, as well as the announcements in terms of our next meeting. So of the business agenda items, to be respectful of your time, Commissioner Mitnick, I think we could discuss amicus status, and that looks like it would have been a 15-minute discussion. But then again, it would depend on, would you prefer to have your fellow commissioners here at that time, since we are the only 2 that are confirmed right now?
Yeah, I'll speak on this a little bit. Sorry, I was having some internet issues, so I just rejoined from a different device. So yeah, apologies for that. Yeah, I think it's very pertinent for us to be discussing amicus today, and the way that it is on the agenda, as you mentioned, it's a discussion item. So
Okay.
I think there's some updates on my end I would like to share, and I also was notified that 2 other commissioners had resigned. So yeah, and that's I guess another discussion. And I'm just a bit confused about the discussion on the legal scope of the SHRC, why that is a 25-minute agenda item. So yeah, I just have some questions around that, but I think it's really important that we take up amicus and give it ample time today. Thanks.
Certainly. Okay, so in terms of so could we go to public comment, and then I suggest that we not hold the legal scope of Seattle Human Rights Commission to give you time for your presentation on amicus, and then move into the the update. So we could also be respectful of our commissioner that's our timekeeper and that would be leaving. So we could adjourn by 7 if we cover what you've prepared as well as the updates.
That sounds great.
Excellent. Okay, so we're the only two confirmed here. So I think, yeah, that's the majority of the confirmed. Let's move on to public comment. And our first speaker is Megan, and your 2 minutes would begin now.
Okay, great. I sense the community listening because an injury to one is an injury to all. I'm a person on disability and I demand to be contacted in the most therapeutic way and by the actual person so I can agree or disagree with how I am communicated with and choose the most therapeutic setting for the forms of communication. A well-known person in town seems to be making it known that he's interested in me and can afford to send third parties to my location that look like him. And it's been a chronic stressor, and I prefer to be communicated with directly. I lost custody of my son in 2011 because in my AA meetings in Sioux City, Iowa, I had somebody stalking me at my AA that had the same name, image, and likeness as a former boyfriend, and I went to the police, and my pain was criminalized. I said, I need a list of domestic violence shelters, and so I think I'm being stalked by Giuliani because there was a troll on my Facebook named Giuliani, and I had an Italian ex-boyfriend. They said I was having a psychotic break. And in 90 days, I lost custody of my son, and I had been sober for 4 years. I did everything perfect. And that's the only thing I did wrong. So this is actually an insult to injury to be repeating the same method of stalking that caused me to lose custody of my son and make me feel like no matter how hard I scream and cry, it's going to continue. And I turned down the former CEO of Gateway Computers. Both brothers were worth $8 million in 1999. They asked me to live with his brother. I was already living with his sister, and they offered to pay for graduate school, for a new car. And something in me said, this is wrong. I said no, and they kind of threatened me, like, you better comply because you're going to face consequences. I still said no. And he was turned in as a client of Jeffrey Epstein. So I feel like I'm on a list of people that billionaires stalk and psychologically harass, and it feels horrible. I'm afraid of being continuously stalked. I have legs that are strong. It makes me extremely uncomfortable to have my physical characteristics stalked and harassed. I'm an artist. I'm an activist. And if anybody wants to follow me or my schedule, where I live, what I do where I live, they have to ask me first, face to face, in person, because that is my human right. And it's also written in the law. And I haven't seen my son in 12 years because of this.
I'm so sorry.
It's a horrible mind game. It's a horrible mind game to
Yes.
let. I'm supposed to wonder when they're going to show up, when the billionaire class is going to descend down and like.
Thank
communicate
you.
like a
I'm
human
so sorry.
being.
I'm
Thank
so
you.
sorry. 2 minutes, Evelyn. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Megan. Next, we have Kim.
Thank you very much for your time and
Thank you.
attention. I was glad to hear actually that you're going to make this sort of an informational meeting rather than a business meeting, because I have a piece of information I believe is germane. I used to be an attorney back in Washington, D.C. I'm not licensed in this state, so I can't give you any advice. But in the ethics class that I took when I was in law school in D.C., there was a discussion about the privileges, doctor-patient, etc. And attorney-client privilege, we were, it was pounded home that the privilege lies with the client, not with the attorney. The attorney can't break it. The client has the option to waive it at any time. And I understand that this has been an issue for members of this panel recently. And I just want you to know that unless there has been a really big sea change in legal ethics law, and you might want to check with the King County Bar Association on that, if you are being imposed upon and told that you can't discuss things because they're privileged, the privilege is yours to waive. Okay?
Thank you.
That's really the only comment I had to drop in here.
Thank you very much. We really
Sure, thank
appreciate
you.
that.
Mm-hmm.
And next we have Castile. Castile, your 2 minutes begins as soon as you start speaking.
Great, thank you. Hi, my name is Castile Hightower. In 2004, my brother Herbert Hightower Jr. was shot and killed by Seattle police while he was experiencing a mental health crisis. Seattle police has continued their killings even well into the consent decree and afterwards with zero accountability for the officers. And we are not being given a voice in that whole process. Our accountability system, such as the CPC, continues to ignore, gaslight, and dismiss the harms that are being perpetuated against community members in Seattle. As recently as their last meeting, they continue to downplay the harm that SPD continues to perpetuate. I was nominated for a Human Rights Award last year that I rejected because of the mass resignations that came about from the bullying that was perpetuated by the CPC, by the city attorney's office in pursuit of amicus status, in pursuit of giving a voice to victims of police violence. We don't have any other form of outlet for ourselves under the consent decree to be given a voice, to be given some type of platform to talk about the continued harms. I'm here to just get my sons in the background. I'm here to just push and continue to support the pursuit of amicus status. Sorry. Actually, I actually am not going to be able to continue to talk. My son is having a meltdown and I have to attend to him. But just to say, as someone who has been impacted by police violence, I think it's only right for you to continue to pursue it. And continue to try to give a voice to people who are essentially voiceless in this city, for you to all do the right thing.
Thank you, Castile. Thank you. And finally, we have Dr. Gale, and your 2 minutes shall begin. Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay. There's not much I can say after Castile. I mean, I think her story should really be incredibly moving to all of us, and moving not in the way we just cry, but in a way that we actually act on that. The only thing I'll say is just yesterday, 40 some hours ago, the Community Police Commission met, and in response to a commenter, myself, bringing up the horrible murder, SPD murder, of a Latinx man in mental health distress last year in January on Beacon Hill, in response to that, one of the commissioners, Mark Mullins, who's an officer, an SPD officer, gave a completely bizarre alternative cop version of events. There were 11 commissioners present. Not one of them could present an alternative state of what, an alternative, the reality of what happened. Not one of them questioned him. All they could do is thank him. Given what happened with Tyree Nichols, and given every police killing in this country, we know is preceded by disinformation by the police, who repeat the disinformation until they're caught dead to rights. And so for the CPC to actually not just engage in that behavior, but actually promote it and not push back on it, highlights the urgent, extreme need for the Human Rights Commission to take up amicus. That's it. Thank you.
And thank you, Dr. Gale. And that will bring us, so we are now skipping approval of the minutes. And I'd like to be respectful of Commissioner Mitnick's presentation. So we're going to move to the discussion on amicus. And I know it says 15 minutes in the agenda, but I think it deserves 20. So, and I think that's what we agreed. So I'd like to turn this over to Commissioner Mitnick.
Thank you so much. I guess I will, just for members of the public, for the commissioners, I just want to give some background here on what amicus is, because
this meeting is being recorded.
Oh, perfect. It's being recorded. Nice. Just because the information we've been receiving from the city attorney's office has not only been wrong, it's actually been illegal. So I'm hoping to present an accurate lay of the land. And really, there's not a lot of discussion that needs to be had. I feel like over the past several months, the public has clearly articulated the extent of amicus, why we need it. But for those who don't know, amicus relates to the phrase amicus curiae, which means friend of the court. This means an individual organization that is not a party to an action, but who volunteers or is court invited to advise on a matter before the court. So this was something that the Human Rights Commission took up about 10 months ago, prior to my time on the commission, and actually passed. So we've already voted to pursue amicus. And as I mentioned, it passed pretty overwhelmingly. And that came as a result of the failures of the Community Police Commission, the Office of Police Accountability, the City Council, the Mayor's Office, to actually do their jobs. So just to give some brief background, during August 2021's consent decree status conference before Judge Robard, the Community Police Commission remained absolutely silent on failures of the Seattle Office of Police Accountability and in the Seattle Office of Inspector General that were revealed by CE Bick in the South Seattle Emerald. Happy to share that link for folks if you want to get more background on that. But that instance is just one of many where accurate, up-to-date, and unbiased information is not going to the court because the Community Police Commission is in the business of protecting the cops and the mayor and not actually, as I mentioned, doing anything. So because of the result of that, because of the result of the City Council, there are relevant facts that we as a Human Rights Commission could bring before the court, especially because we are still in federal consent decree in the ongoing Department of Justice versus Seattle litigation. And if we're actually going to ensure that there's compliance with the requirements that have been set forth federally, this is our due diligence to do. And if we've been around for almost 6 decades, I don't know the exact years, as a Human Rights Commission, and if we're advocating for human rights, the same rights that the Seattle Police Department has time and time again abused, it's really pertinent for us to do this. And we're an independent body. We have complete independence from Seattle's existing police accountability system, one that you just have to open up a newspaper and you can see there's corruption, there's conflicts of interest, interdependent funding, friendships, political favors, the list goes on. So we are in a really unique position as a commission to represent those impacted by police violence, but not just be that honest broker, but actually give impacted families and victims a voice, because they're the ones who should be informing the court. A lot of the people on the CPC, and I'll say it as a commissioner to a certain extent on bodies like this, they're handpicked by the City Council, they're handpicked by the mayor, the same entities that are protecting the cops and those that have continually abused this system. So we're in a unique position as a commission because I guess I'll just speak for myself. I've not been bought out by any of these people and refuse to let them control me. So it's really important that we use the voice we have here to give others a voice who are not in this position. So that's why I brought this forward, or I guess I didn't originally bring it forward, why I'm continuing it. So yeah, I just wanted to also share how the city's responded ever since back in, I want to say December, we indicated, or at least I indicated my intent to bring this back to the discussion. The Seattle City Attorney's Office, specifically Gary Smith, Ariel Schneier, Thomas Kuffel, I have the emails to back it up. They have threatened legal action against commissioners who vote to file an amicus brief. They've threatened removal from the commission through a city council hearing. And they've also levied consequences through a gag order by sending attorney-client privilege memorandums that they claim could not be shared with the public. And it's really disappointing because, at least me personally, never opted into being a client of these people. And even if I did, as the client, as was shared during public comment, we're not bound to privilege. If they want to play that game, they can play that game, but we don't have to. So we're in a unique situation here, as I mentioned, where you have the mayor, you have the city council, you have everyone who decides law and policy, who's not done the job for accountability. I was in the Community Police Commission this past week. It was pretty disgusting. And actually, as the liaison to that body from this commission, I was actually demoted when I spoke out and shared the failures of the CPC. I mean, they have proven they cannot do the accountability appeals through the OPA, and that's why we need an impacted program for victims and impacted families. Like the list can go on, but at the end of the day, we already voted to file an amicus brief 10 months ago. So I wanted to use this meeting to announce that starting on February 13th, I will be convening the Criminal Justice Task Force. I'd like to schedule 2 meetings, one for February 13th and one for February 27th at 6:30 p.m. And this is consistent with previous Criminal Justice Task Force meetings, which have been meeting on the second and fourth Monday of every month at 6:30 p.m. And since that task force was never dissolved, since we've not taken any further action on amicus, which this commission had actually already passed, I'm going to be continuing that work starting on February 13th, and a link to the meeting will be set up, and I will be asking staff from this commission to please send that out publicly. There are other commissions, specifically the Renters Commission and Disability Commission. Folks from those commissions have expressed interest to me personally that they would like to be involved in this drafting of an amicus brief. And I also know someone on the Transportation Commission who is interested in bringing this forward too. So we do have a Commissioner Laureano from the Renters Commission who's here, and I am going to be appointing myself per our bylaws, which is allowed as a co-chair of this Criminal Justice Task Force. And Commissioner Laureano is interested in being a co-chair as well. So if you're comfortable, Commissioner Laureano, and want to just kind of share a few words on this, I think that would be really helpful for this commission and members of the public to hear.
I just want to say that these issues are intersectional. They're intersectional with renters. They're intersectional with people with disabilities. They're intersectional with really everybody in our city. And it's really important that the Human Rights Commission and other commissions step up and speak for the people. We've been chosen, to represent people in this city. It is our duty to send a message and to make sure that the Department of Justice has the right information on this matter. I know in 2020, the police gassed large portions of the city, and a lot of that gas was sucked into renters' buildings. I myself have deadly asthma, and I know a lot of other people who do as well. The police in this city have risked the public safety time and time again. They've been protected by the establishment, and it's important that these commissions act and protect the people in this city. And that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. That's why we want to do this. And I just have like one last thing to say.
Sure.
So just anyone who's here, if you're a commissioner, you're a member of the public, we invite you to join the meeting on the February 13th, where we can start drafting this brief. And anyone who wants to be involved in these public meetings should have a role in helping us draft this. And I'm volunteering to co-chair this. If others want to, step in as co-chairs for this, totally open to that. But I think we just need to get this off the ground, file that brief, because we don't know when the next federal court hearing is going to be. And I think we should be prepared. And I have engaged in several back and forths over writing with the city attorney's office since our meeting last January, because I've concluded that the only time these people actually will attempt to follow the law is when things are put in writing. Because when I was pulled into several private meetings with them, they threatened all these things. They tried to scare us off. They tried to intimidate us. I mean, we have had a slew of resignations even since the last meeting. I was pulled into a meeting with the Community Police Commission back in September where they were talking about this. Tammy Morales was there. Lisa Herbold was there, and they were silent as the co-chairs of the Community Police Commission completely gaslit members of this commission, accused us of things we did not do, blamed people, and refused to take any responsibility. So I've just concluded at this point that, and I have gone to probably 6 Community Police Commission meetings, and I have asked them a number of times, like, we want to collaborate with you. We want to work on this with you. And as I told them on Wednesday, I've come to the conclusion that they're incapable of doing their jobs, and that anything they say is just empty promises. So I think we are in a position here where we can do it ourselves. Super excited about that. That is everything I have. And I even got in confirmation in writing from a back and forth with Gary Smith. I said, are there any legal consequences or actions from us doing this? And he sent a roundabout response, which I'm happy to read. And I asked him again, yes or no, are you going to sue any of us if we pursue this? And he confirmed in writing, no. So that now that's in writing, they can't do anything. So,
Great. Thank
yeah,
you.
that's everything.
Do any of our commissioners, confirmed or unconfirmed, do you have any questions for Matthew or no one? Okay. Thank you, Matthew, for that thoughtful presentation. I'm sure that'll be in the notes or the minutes so that our other commissioners can discuss this as well. But it sounds like we've already voted on this as a commission, so it's just a matter of movement. So thank you for agreeing to co-chair. Continue to take on that mantle. Thank you. And oh, sorry.
Yeah, I wanted to say one more thing. I don't know if I'm not seeing the chat function, but my email is commissionermatthewmitnick@gmail.com. So if anyone has any questions or wants to just have any more information, please feel free to email me. Thanks.
Thank you. And for the public, because of public comment, the chat function is disabled because the public comment section is at the beginning of the meeting and in the agenda. But thank you. And I would like to now have Meredith, can you report out some updates from the Office of Civil Rights for us?
Sure. The only update I have is just to confirm the retreat this weekend here at City Hall, Bertha Knight Landis Room, 1 to 4 p.m. The agenda has been posted publicly on the website. And that's really all I have, unless if anyone has any questions for me. Yeah.
I have a question because Commissioner Mitnick stated that 2 commissioners had resigned. However, I know there's a specific way to do that in the bylaws. Has that already happened? Have they?
No, so I don't have anything in writing. I did also hear that we may be losing 2 commissioners, but until we get it in writing, they're not.
Okay.
So they count towards quorum. That's an important.
Right. Right. That made a difference at the beginning because otherwise I would have erred in saying we didn't have quorum, but thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Okay, next, that will bring us to the announcements. Of course, as Meredith noted, the annual retreat is scheduled for 4 p.m. The morning session is for the commissioners, so that we will not be conducting official commission business at that time. But what time does the meeting for the public begin? I believe that's at 1?
That's at 1 o'clock.
At 1 o'clock. So members of the public are welcome to attend from 1 p.m. on. And if you are a commissioner, hopefully you've already placed or made a reservation or indicated that you will be attending on the 4th. And in terms of the human rights composition, at the moment, we still have our commissioners in waiting, although one is a step further. But at the moment, we still have the same number of confirmed commissioners. Hopefully that will change by February 7th, correct?
Yes. Commissioner Allen will be fully confirmed by the 7th. I believe it was.
Wonderful.
I can't remember the exact, or on the 7th is when.
Yes. Thank you. And of course, our next regular meeting will be held on March 2nd at 6 p.m. And I don't know how I moved to, it went so quickly. Thank you so much for our members of the public who spoke, as well as for Commissioner Mitnick for preparing that wonderful presentation and continuing the work in that committee that you've created. And could you repeat your email address once again, just in case, Commissioner Mitnick, if someone wants to get in touch with you? No, he can't hear me. I can look up and see what his email address is on his behalf.
His email address is commissionermatthewmitnick@gmail.com.
Wonderful. And that's all together, no dots, Commissioner Matthew.
As far as I know.
Yeah.
There you go.
Sorry, I've been having computer issues today, but yeah, commissionermatthewmitnick@gmail.com.
Excellent. Okay, well, I know I can't, well, I guess I can adjourn move to adjourn the meeting. I'm looking forward to us continuing our work on February 4th at 1 p.m. as well as on March 2nd, as well as, for February 13th. Is that the first meeting for the Criminal Justice Task Force, or was it?
Yeah, the 13th.
Okay, on the 13th. Right.
Cool. Thanks so much for sharing. I'm glad to have a short meeting. Thanks.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, like the first time ever.
First time ever, and you had an opportunity to speak at length on one topic, which normally does not happen. So thank you. And thank you to our members of the public as well.
All right,
Have-
thanks
have a
very
good
much.
night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.